it's Linda from Lányos Handmade, and today I have another video for you from the Marathon Sewciety. This video is going to be the Juno Clutch Wallet from Sewgnar. It's a great little pattern. It doesn't take too long to sew up. It's got these alternating card slots in it that I really like. I could have put a brown here too to make it more noticeable even. But like I say, there's two slip pockets here for bills or for receipts or something like that. And then there's 16 card slots. So it's got quite a load packed in here. And then on the other side, it's got this little recessed gusset change purse that you can use. And I even found that my phone fit into some of these pockets here. So it's quite a handy little wallet, and it's very quick to sew up. So one more piece of information. It is a raw edge wallet, so you have to make it out of something like cork or vinyl. You can put edge coating on it, or she gives other suggestions on what to do too. You don't need the edge coating. And I sewed it up on my domestic machine, so it's domestic machine friendly. I have a Juno 8200. So I guess we can get started sewing. Now I've got my pieces cut out. I did not use any shape flex or interfacing for a couple of the pieces like she suggested, because this is really heavy and I don't think I need any interfacing on it, so I skipped that part. And also some of these materials here, like this cork is a lot heavier than this cork. You can tell by holding it. So it's good for card slots because it's very stiff, but I don't know if I want to use this. I did cut it out, but we shall see as we're going along how heavy this ends up being with this really heavy, stiff cork in it. So I did cut the pieces, but I shall see if I use them. I might not use them. And when it comes to the interfacing, when she puts it on this piece, it is slightly smaller than the piece, and she uses that line there where the interfacing sits as a guideline. So I did write the line on here because it'll help me sew afterwards. So if you don't use interfacing, you might still want to put the line on where the interfacing was supposed to go, because it's kind of helpful when you're putting it together. I have the markings on here that I was supposed to have. There's snap markings on these pieces, and the gusset pocket mark. All the lines have been transferred over, so pay attention to that before you start sewing. This one I have a couple extra in here because it was an old scrap piece, which is another good thing. You can use scraps to make this. There's some quite small pieces in here. I think I might have, yeah, I probably should have marks on here for the center line, but I don't know if I need them or not yet. I might want to put them with on this side so I can see it better, but do it with something that won't permanently scar my cork. So now we shall go on to the next step, now that we know we've got all our markings on everything. Now don't forget, when you're doing this, if there is a specific order to what you've cut, then make sure that you put things on in that specific order. I want to have the brown, and this is still not lined up, but I'm just putting it here for show. Let me get this. I think I missed one. Yeah. 1, 2, 3. There. So that's how that's going to be stuck on the top. And this is how this is going to be stuck on the bottom. 1, 2, 3, 4. So make sure you keep in mind the order that you want these things in. Sort of like that. So I shall take off one row, the other row, and I'll do my top stitching here before I forget too much. So how about we get some sewing done here. I am going to, although it's not absolutely necessary, I'm going to top stitch the pieces that should be top stitched. So I'm just going to pick those out of here. And I'm pretty sure that's all there is. So I'm going to top stitch these. And I should probably figure out where to put this too, but I'll take a look at the pattern again and see what's the best place. So to start with, I'm just going to top stitch all these pretty rickrack little edges here that she's got. That's seriously why I like this pattern so much, is because she gives options on how to design the top. I don't have to do that one. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and both sides of that. So I'll top stitch those, and then I'll come on back and I'll show you what it looks like, and we can go on to the next step. So I've got my top stitching all done. If I kind of get too wonky with it, I do stop sewing and I pull the threads through and I knot them and I stick a glue on them. I think a couple of these have to have glue because I kind of went off so far, it's messy. So if you don't like the looks of your top stitching, stop, pull your threads through, knot them, glue them, and then start up again. And any knots that you have hand tied, it's probably best to glue them. There's one. That's where I stopped and started again. It's best to glue them. You want to make sure they stay, especially with a spot like card slots, because there's a lot of activity with the sliding the cards in and out that it would make the knots go loose. So I will check that I've glued my knots. This is my card panel A, and it goes on first. So I'm going to line that up with the edge here, right there, and sew across nicely, more top stitching. And there's one that goes on the bottom too. So in the pattern, she does one side, sews all this on, and then flips over and does the other side. But I'm just going to do both these sides now that I've got it in the machine. Sew both sides down the edge, and then we'll move on to the card slots. Okay, the first layer is sewed on. I did both sides, remember? And then I'm going to sew on my next card slot. And we're just going to put it right here lined up with this. And we're not going to sew it at the top because that'll seal everything up. We're going to sew just at the bottom. Now, when you're sewing cork or vinyl, it stretches a bit. So after we are finished everything, we will check the edges. And if there's anything really seriously hanging over, then we're going to just skim across and cut the edge off. So right now I'm going to sew just down along here on this side. And the same on this side. I'm just going to clip this on and sew down along here. And that'll anchor the card slot down so we can stick something in and have it not fall out the end. Okay, now we can move on to our next row, which would be the brown one, because this is sewed on. And the brown one would be done the same way. Line up the sides and on this bottom line, and we'll sew the bottom edge down. Oops, am I shaking the camera? Sorry. So I'm going to sew along the bottom edge and secure this one down. There you go. The brown one is sewed on just along the bottom edge on both sides so that it makes a bit of a pocket. And then I took the liberty of lining up the next one and sewing it down. So the next step we have, now that all the card slots are sewn on, is to sew this on top. Got to make sure you center it nicely where it's supposed to go, both ways. I think I'm going to measure this and make sure it's clipped right in the center. And then I'm going to find the center and draw my line, my vertical line, and then I will sew on that vertical line. Make sure you use something that, you know, it's either removable or it's going to be hidden, because you sew exactly on top of the marks you make, because you don't want to draw a line here and then sew there, and then you've got this line that you're stuck with. So I'm going to make sure it's centered by measuring here and then clip it down, and then I'm going to find the center of this and do my line and sew on the line. And this is a few layers to go through. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm going to take it really slow, take it easy, and just stick in my vertical line. I still haven't decided on where to put this. I think before I do that, I'm going to try and figure out where the heck I can put my label. Maybe I can put it on this side or something. Where do you think? Where can I stick this label? Okay, I've got this all together. I put this on top of my card slots. I made sure I could see my line. Maybe you can't. Maybe it's hard for you to see. I am going to sew from this point, right there, up to this point, which is right there, so that this has no sewing in it, from here to here. And when I was doing this line, I measured from here to here to here, all the way through, to make sure that it was exactly center, this line is. Because with the sewing and the pulling and everything, you might have your line just slightly off. This way, if you measure it now, you know it's right on. That's the one. I've clipped the sides. I've put tape on because I don't want this to shift now. I measured here and here to make sure this was always the same width, right, centered properly, so that this isn't too far one way or the other. And the other thing, I might start from here and sew this way, and then start from here and sew that way, and drag my knots through and tie them off, and even put glue on them if you think that they're going to come loose. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's easier to sew this way and sew down those edges than it is to sew up those edges, because you're going to keep on hitting the edges. So for me, it's easier to sew one way and then the other way. And I'll get it done and come back and show you. Okay, this is sewn now from here to here. So you've got your card slots right there. I just put my hand in the way so you probably can't see, but right there. Now you might notice, maybe you can see it, I did a slight double row of stitching because I really want to make sure that these don't come undone. I did start from here and go up and go down and go back up again. And the first pass made it flatten out really well so that I could get the second pass through. And I like the double row stitching, but you don't have to do that. It's just I'm paranoid. On the other side, you can see the double row of stitching a bit more. And I've glued all the knot ends so that they don't run away on me. And I could take the tape off. And I guess this is done. We'll go on to our next piece, which is sticking the, and I don't know if I'm going to do that, stick the interfacing, that stiff interfacing on the piece. It might make it too bulky. I'm just going to take a look and see. So what we're supposed to do now is stick, either with glue or double-sided tape, our heavy interfacing stabilizer onto here. She gives you the measurements there. I'm not even going to do it because with that and this layer, I've got all these layers, right? And I think might be a bit too much. Let's see what it's like without it. Because like I said, I've got some cork here that is really heavy. And I don't know if I want it to be that. Because my cork is not, some of it's nice, some of it's really heavy. So I think I'm going to just leave it at this and not put that stabilizer in there. Eventually we're going to have all these pieces together. And I don't want that heavy stuff in the way here. So I'm going to put it aside and save it for something else. And I think we can put in some magnetic snaps now. Let me just check. So the interior needs the male portion on it, and the exterior needs the female portion on it. Am I shaking the table again? Sorry. After I get these in, I'm going to measure to make sure that they are exactly the same. A shaky table again. So I've got my little markings here. I traced them down with this washer. I'm going to measure to make sure that they're exactly the same, the two of them. And then I poke the holes in, push the male side through, push it through this, put the washer on, bend the prongs back, and I can use this tape to put on top of the prongs so the prongs don't ever poke through. So I'm going to go find something to poke those holes and get those magnetic snaps in. Okay, the snaps are in. You can see them here. I put some tape on the other side. I guess I don't need this piece that long. So chances are this is going to go together like this. So I'm going to save my label for when I get the measurements all sorted out, putting it on right here before I finally put things together. So my label has found a home. Right now I'm going to put these pieces away because I can work on the little gusset pocket. So now I've got my pieces sorted out for my external piece. You notice I've got the box cut out and the little gusset here. I have put double-sided tape around here. It's incredibly sticky. I have put my 90-degree bend in here. And this bend is here because that's where the gusset goes. Is right there. We want the zipper to extend past here for the top, but bend for the bottom. Now she has interfacing on her piece, and I can't put interfacing on this one. So I'm kind of going to do it a little bit differently. This raw edge is really nice on this material, this waterproof canvas. I might not even have to have a hem. So I'm just going to take a look at what it looks like. If it looks better with the hem here, I'm going to put it down with double-sided tape. But if it looks okay raw, then I'll leave it raw. Just depends on what it looks like. It might get too much friction here, so maybe I'll fold this down. But when I'm sewing it on, I think I can leave this raw as it is. I might not have to have the hem at the top. So we'll see as we go along how different I do it than hers. But for now, she suggests that you put your interfacing on both pieces and you fold this and press it over your interfacing. So I'm just going to get some double-sided tape and hold this down. And I'm going to check my double-sided tape is strong enough here. It's been sitting for a while to hold the zipper in the proper place over this hole. I'll have to line it up really nice. And when you're lining it up too, you want your zipper to be close to that edge, but not over the edge. Look at that, I've got double-sided tape on here and I can't even move my clip. So you want it like that. And then when it opens, it'll be hidden in there. I wonder if I can have that raw edge. Probably if I seal it, I can use a raw edge, but I'm gonna go fold it. I'll fold it and then put some double-sided tape there. So I will line up these things properly, the way they're supposed to be, and I'll come back and show you what the next step is. It's not bad on the bottom right there. A little bit lopsided. And of course I have a bigger zipper tape. I've got a 5 and she recommends using a 3. So this is what a 5 would look like if you use a 5. I don't have any 3 Not that I like anyway, not with these fun colors. Okay, that looks like it's okay there. Maybe move it up here a bit. And I'm going to just put this hem down on this. Okay, I've got my zipper nicely clipped on here. I like the way it looks. I didn't go too close to the edge here. I've got some double-sided tape ready. And I'm going to put this on too. And I'm going to make sure I can put it on my double-sided tape. That's the right side down, right? Wrong side up. And I'm going to make sure that it's just along the edge here. So first, let's get that. I've got extra tape here. I can feel it sticking to my fingers. And then later it's going to fold down like this, but not right away. And it'll make a nice little pocket. Let's get this up here so we can sew it. And I'm going to sew along this edge from here to here only, and pull my threads through and tie them off. And I'm going to make sure that this is up when I do it, because I don't want to sew this down. We'll just leave it up for now. So from here to here, let's just get this secured. Okay, I've sewed from here to here, and that's attached the pocket, and I pulled my threads through. Now I can pull this down and line it up here. I've got some double-sided tape there just to hold it so it stays out of the way. So now it looks like this. See the inside? And I think I'm going to have to push my zipper teeth in there just a bit. I might have done them too close. Next, we take this piece. I've already put some double-sided tape on the short wrong side, and we line it up with the corner up here. So that it is level there like that. Oh, that sticks really well. And then we can go sew it on just here. That's all we have to sew. But if you do it from this side, you can actually see what you're doing, how neat and tidy you're making it. So I've sewed this little piece up here now. It's almost invisible when it's closed, but you can see that's what it looks like. Now, we've got some threads here. I left them long, and I tied them in a good knot. I don't trust that knot sitting there by itself, so I am going to tape these threads down, tie them down. I don't want to leave them up here. So we're just going to sew a little bit more, and before I finish, I'm going to tie these off so that they don't slide up. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to fold this little flap piece over, right in half. I've got double-sided tape here, and I can fold it down. And that works pretty good. I'm going to move this zipper over, then I can press it flat. So that's going to stay like that. And the next piece that we put on is this one. And this sits on top of here. And I've got double-sided tape there to hold that down, so I'm going to peel that off. And that's placed on there nicely with the double-sided tape now. Now that we've got this placed on here very nicely, lined up, we're going to fold this up and sew this down to close up our little zipper pouch, and sew across here to close our zipper pouch. And the rest of it is going to be sewed when we sew up this side and the top. So right now, let's go sew the side and the bottom. Okay, I did it. Sewed only this. So that's 2 sides done. For these 2 sides, what we do is come over to here. You can see it's pretty much closed. Is we come over to here and we have to sew around. Now, where we stopped here, we're going to continue, go around the slit, go up here and down there, and that'll seal up the other sides. So now I've sewed around like we're supposed to, just from there and around up to here. So now I have a little pockety thing. So I can close this up. I put some glue on my knots. I've got my marks for where my snaps go. When I stick them on, if you stick them on this way, it's wrong. So let's stick them on from this side. So I'll have to carefully poke my holes, measure my holes, make sure they're in the right spot, because this is supposed to match up with this piece. This is your lining. Of course, I don't have the card slots on yet, but it folds up like this so that this comes down onto it. Okay, so I'm going to make sure that this is in the exact spot it's supposed to be in and put these 2 magnetic snaps on. I'll just start measuring. Okay, I've got my snaps in. This is my lining piece, and I've got some double-sided tape on here, and we're going to put these 2 pieces together, line them up nicely. I'm going to go check again, make sure it's lined up nicely. And put this here. I have to measure the measurements in the pattern. And I'm going to top stitch this here and this here, like it says in the pattern, and that'll secure everything down. Make sure your top and your top is together, and make sure your bottom and bottom is together, because you don't want to mix the 2 up, because they will have to fit together like this. Okay, so first I'm going to make sure that this is nicely put together. Now I've got it all clipped together, my card slots, my inner layer and my outer layer, and I sew around one way and around the other way like she says in the pattern, and then we will be done. Except I should probably check after that to see if there's any overhang, because I feel a little bit sticking out on this side. So I can trim off any layers that are uneven. Right now I'm just going to top stitch the 2 rectangle things, squares, whatever shape they are, and I'll come back and show you what it looks like. And we are done. Now, the one thing I did do different, I did sew the way she said in the pattern, but I did a double row. So I did 1 row right on the edge, and I did another row about 1/4 of an inch in. So there's all these lines here, right here, and that'll just help with the folding, because I did double rows of stitching, right? So now we can close it up, and quite often what I do to get this cork to behave and not be so stubborn is I put it under something heavy. So I'm going to squish this under a heavy book, and this double stitching, triple, quadruple, whatever you want to call it, stitching here at the bottom will really help. So I'm done. Got bills, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 16 card slots. So let's move on to our next project. So how'd that go? We would love to see your Juno Wallet. So make sure you take a look at the links below and post some of your makes on there. We'd love to see them. I thank you for watching, and I thank Sewgnar for the pattern. I love this little pattern. And I thank you for the Marathon Society for letting me post another video with them. So until I see you again, happy sewing.